All right, hello everybody. We'll try this again. Hopefully, we can have Google cooperate. Is that the
Yep.
newest YouTube video that you posted there, Alex?
Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah, we're screen sharing Mr. Thomas here.
Oh, excellent. Hey, it's a miracle. Oh, yeah, look at that. It's actually working. Son of a gun. All right, well, that's good. Okay, so we'll probably just post this video on the site. We're about, geez, 15, 20 minutes in. We were just talking a little bit about coffee. Kind of got off on sort of a funny start to today's video. So I don't think we necessarily covered anything earth shattering in that first 10, 15 minutes. But as you can see on Thomas's chart, we were taking a quick boo at coffee prices. They're collapsing, and Starbucks here enjoying lower coffee prices, but they don't change their prices at their counters. So that means that their profit margins increase. And we can all see the bullish bot setup that Thomas has on his screen. Because thank heavens, Google's actually going to allow us to share Thomas's screen. It's a miracle.
They didn't want us to give out the Starbucks trade. They thought everyone's trapped short. They think that the market's going to go down, so they don't want to see the other thing. Google must be short Starbucks.
Maybe. But a really interesting testament to basically this setup. Just had its move stop to trailing level hit there, 66%. And so at this point, were you in this long trade that we have on Thomas's screen, you should be locking in profits at this point. And actually, I had mentioned earlier that Ethereum actually did almost exactly the same chart pattern, and it's going through almost exactly the same thing right now. It just had its 66% level hit. I don't know whether we dare try and show that, but on my screen here, there is that Ethereum trade, and there is that 66% level, and it looks like actually they just took the market to new highs here. So for whatever it's worth, if I was in this trade, and I don't know whether we can share screens and stuff.
You're good.
I hope this works. I wouldn't really be doing anything here right now. I'd want to wait for some sort of structure to develop before I start moving stops. I know there was one gentleman who was in this trade versus Euro, and he was kind of like, should I drill down to like a lower time frame and start hunting against lows to move my stops? But I would just be like, this is the most powerful position to be in a trade. Just let the market breathe a little bit here. You can do things like moving averages to try and help you. You can see 13-period EMA is still a million miles away, but you can also see how that 13-period EMA is now going to start corresponding with this key low here. So, some people use the bot. They like to use moving average crosses, and exponential moving average crosses are really good because, sometimes you get pullbacks against them, but the market never breaks them. You could, move your stop against previous significant pivot low, perfectly fine. But the way I look at this is I would just let this thing breathe, right? You're sitting in an incredibly powerful position. You're up huge. Your risk on the trade is nothing. Have your stop against entry here and just let the market breathe a little bit. And you might find in one bloody candle, bang, the thing just jumps right up to the target. And of course, what we just saw happen out of Bitcoin is a great testament to that. So, okay, so let's get back to Mr. Bear and your report. Hopefully Google will cooperate, but where do we want to take the conversation next?
Yeah, where do we want to go? Sorry, I was trading an Ethereum setup on 15-minute that I just got out of. So where was I? But I'll talk about that later. And interestingly, I have some really good articles to discuss as to what's going on in these markets. So we'll save that as a teaser. Let's go through our normal agenda a little bit more, I guess, on a more urgent schedule here. It doesn't seem like anything crazy is happening in Stockland. The only thing that's caught my eye really is just, AMD seems to be on the upside, and you've got a third day in a row of stocks kind of I don't know, what do you call this? A slow melt upwards, it seems. I mean, everything that I'm looking at is just kind of slowly crawling its way up, not only into line in the sands, but in some instances beyond that into 88.6, retesting highs. Here's AMD.
And the SOX index itself, which is, if we want to follow the semiconductors, we should probably follow that. I think it's just about to make a new all-time high here. So be careful about you. Oh, it did. Well, look at that, motherfucker. So stocks is the ultimate leading indicator in the stock market. And if it's breaking out to new all-time highs, get ready, folks. This is going to be wild. And actually, this is a great example of volume profile. Remember we did this yesterday with an idea? You see the profile. Do you see how it kind of looks like a half a parabola there? Does everybody see that? Do you see how you can kind of see how it looks like half a parabola? So what we can actually do is we can go all the way up top. Remember we did this on a name yesterday, Thomas?
Mm-hmm.
And then draw your parabola so that the middle part of the parabola lines up with the POC. And believe it or not, I think the SOX is actually pointing all the way up here. Isn't that incredible?
You are so good at drawing that parabola.
Yeah. Yours is kind of like, what? Does it look like that? No. Okay, well, maybe it looks like that. No.
It took me a good 5 tries to actually get that done.
That was cute. And remember, everybody, I've been doing this forever, right? So, yeah, that probably seems like funny, but thanks for mentioning that. Yeah, I'm pretty good parabola drawer. And if anything, it also makes sense too. This is classic sort of Amanda's penthouse, parking garage kind of idea. This is literally a trading range, right? The bottom here, all the way back up top. So if we do, Amanda's penthouse kind of conversation, gee whiz, 200% is basically right up at the top of that parabola. Mm-hmm. So strap on your seatbelts. I don't know whether it's in, like the Fed has basically been put back in the box. And unfortunately now the talking heads are in charge of the market. This market could get absolutely insane. So just be careful about getting too bearish here. And also crypto's, you can feel it the whole day. In fact, Alex was even mentioning this before we even started. I can feel it, and Alex can feel it. The whole market is just going into sort of this almost like orgy mode. So, strap on your seatbelts. It's going to be a pretty wild ride, everybody. The good part about it, and I tried to encourage as many TRIers as possible to get in front of that Litecoin rally and use Litecoin to pay for your trip to Vancouver here this summer. Son of a gun, there it is on Thomas's screen. Kaboom! And interestingly enough, I actually put out a tweet because it was kind of a fun, and I know I totally derailed you, so I'm going to shut up now. Go back to what you were thinking about earlier.
Wait, what was your tweet about?
Well, I did a statistical measure of Litecoin's rally last halvening event, and it, interestingly enough, actually was about an 800% move off of the lows. Now there was a Chinese Ponzi scheme around this. You never know what the hell the damn excuse is going to be this go round. But if we apply that same sort of 800% logic, interestingly, that's actually right around the 50% level. So it's not, ironically enough, we're not even asking for new highs. We're not even asking a test of the old highs. All we're asking for is just, very simple Gann 50% rule retracement of this bear, which is very normal. And it's interesting how those percentages seem to sort of align with that. And this is the last thing anybody is expecting. But if the stock market goes into orgy mode and the semiconductors are going absolutely nuts, we've all seen actually NVIDIA actually is now back to the target that we said it was going to go to 3 or 4 months ago. Why wouldn't these things all do the natural 50% retracements that just like NVIDIA just went through? So that was the tweet, and it's interesting how 800% last halvening event, and the irony of it all is we're not even anywhere close to those kind of levels. Now I don't know whether, like I said, a lot of this rally had to do with a Chinese Ponzi scheme that was going on through that. I don't know whether we get that, but I definitely expect some sort of blow off top heading into that event. That wouldn't surprise me one bit. So anyway, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, I was seeing there's articles coming out now of people predicting Bitcoin going to 50,000, Litecoin's going to $1,000, all that shit starting to come out.
There we go. Yeah, I noticed that Fundstrat guy, Thomas Lee, I guess he's gotten a little bit out of the doghouse lately, and he's talking about Bitcoin breaking above its 200-period moving average. And when that happens, if the market can sustain that, then there's like usually triple-digit gains following that event. And, this is the great part about trading and the markets and stuff, is that the market will usually do exactly the opposite of what everybody is expecting. So everybody basically wrote off crypto there 6 months ago. I mean, it was over. You were an idiot to buy crypto. You're a sucker, blah, blah, blah. So now we have to go through the process of sucking them all right back in. It's almost, when you look back in hindsight, you go, I can't believe how cliche this all is. My little trend following model. And actually, that's what I did this study off of. There is that 800%. But man, I love this little trend following model, just the simple moving average relationships. And you can see one at a time, they're all slowly turning around. Now we have basically Litecoin officially in bull. This Tron, remember we mentioned this recently, that there was actually a cool little bot set up that was coming in following the moving average break. So you can see that beautiful little fractal on Tron is just working away. And look at that nice rally. So, all the Tron aficionados, way to go. And I mean, just look at them. There's EOS, it's taking off. I actually would have thought that Bitcoin would have run into some resistance here at the 30 SMA for the weeklies. But, for now, Bitcoin's like, fuck you. So there you go. And ironically enough, actually the one that looks the prettiest out of all this, that I think actually has the most potential to make money, but everybody's dogging it right now, and I don't know why, is look at this Ethereum. I mean, it's just basically, this thing looks like it's got, massive profit potential written all over it. This is ridiculous. So, first off, as we sort of said a while ago, congratulations, everybody. You didn't blow yourself up through the bear. I mean, most people basically, that came in late 2017, early 2018, they're gone, right? A lot of them, they just couldn't make it. And it's really sad because, the school program, man, we had a ton of people pile in. So all of you people, all of you 30 people over there on YouTube and all of you people in the lounge here, a hearty congratulations to all of you. You made it. The hard part is over. Now we're back to the good part. So rock and roll, man. The crypto winter is thawing. All right. I'm talking way too much. Thomas, let's try and get through currencies very quickly and anything in stock market land that you think needs addressing, and then let's quickly pop over to crypto here and do a review for them. Yeah, Rocker, okay. Seriously, way to go, man. You made it. This was a tough slog. Okay, go ahead, sir.
All right. Looking at this, well, stock markets. What did I want to see specifically here? We did AMD. Let's go through currencies and gold and all that other crap. And, there was something that I wanted to mention, but it escaped me. Maybe it'll come back while I'm running through these names. Dollar seems to be coming off a bit today. And it's interesting, we made commentary about whether or not yesterday was still the potential head and shoulders. This right shoulder is a little bit offsides from a traditional pattern, but there's no denying that that looks like a reversal pattern to me. It's not quite an empire. It looks, is this would be, what is this?
If it can finish today and then we tick through the lows tomorrow, that would be an empire for me.
Okay, so that would be an empire fractal too, right?
Yeah, empires are fractals.
Right. So both of those are on the table here, but I mean, I still don't know if I believe the dollar's ready to pull all the way back down. It's just so range boundy, right? This thing's so stuck in this area. I really want to see this thing make a decision, and really the metals markets aren't buying this pullback in gold, in the dollar. Gold's still down $1 as the dollar has come down. Silver's flat, or I guess the SLV's popping up here a little bit. I need to figure out if I'm going to roll my position forward for a month or two, or if I'm just going to take profits. I haven't decided yet. I have about a week to make that decision. And Euro seems to be making a bit of a comeback after the dollar weakness, but it's interesting. This thing didn't retest all the way back down these lows. I mean, you could argue that this was the test and it got rejected from going lower. So do we form a double bottom here and go all the way back up and actually tag that line in the sand? That's anyone's guess at this point. But right now we're running into some trouble with this. This is the 13 EMA here, but this is just the first day of the counter trend rally. You could really just draw your fibs if you are. Oh, I remember what I wanted to talk about. Good. Okay, so if we do draw our fibs, where could we potentially end up? You can see Mountain Man's 113. Maybe this thing just needs to go sideways a bit more into the summertime, and then it'll lose its lunch. I'm not sure about timing as far as this goes, but if you are a Euro bear or a Euro bull, this is a key level here. If we can bounce, you've kind of put off the inevitable decline in the Euro here for maybe another couple of months. But
somebody must have said something out of Europe, because if you see my screen, like the DAX stock index just launched itself higher. And there's also too, I saw the headlines were coming out that the Chinese and the Americans are getting close to formalizing their trade deal, whatever. But Chinese stocks are surging higher. And in a weird sort of way, we can almost start thinking about like bull flagpoles. And interesting, there's the bot level right off of that double bottom here. Again, it almost feels like melt up mode. I can understand traders taking long shots off of that low there on the Euro. It's well below value, and if anything, 38.2 year Ray barbecue against those moving averages, that trend line, and the bottom of value there. Notice that funny little notch in your volume profile there. Probably needs a lot of business in that area to sort of fill that in. Yeah, right there. I don't know whether we can really declare a new bull for the Euro. I think it's still probably a little too early. But from the impression that I'm getting is, a lot of this has to do with the Americans and the Chinese. Or the scuttlebutt, I guess, is that they're getting close to sort of declaring a truce, if you will. And I've been watching, the commodity currencies themselves. They're trying to turn back up. I agree with you. I think the U.S. dollar is still sort of stuck in a trading range here for the time being. But it kind of looks like we've rejected the move against those highs. And like you said just a moment ago, the Euro for now is rejecting the move against those lows. But, when I look at the equity markets in particular, something happened, especially like out of like Germany. That's remarkable, right? Does anybody know what the hell the driver was to cause this out of German stocks? I mean, that's a hell of a rally there. So something big happened there. I agree. Please continue. On balance, basically, you're spot on. Go ahead. Save it.
Right.
You got to take that.
No, not at all. So I want to make a commentary on I used to make fun of him a lot, Dennis Gartman. He would always be caught with his pants down by CNBC, and he was just wrong so often. This guy came out and said that he thinks the trade of the year is going to be gold versus the euro. So interestingly, I was listening to this commentary, and it just seems like as long as the euro continues to be weak, you'll see gold, kind of the gold versus the euro benefit. And it's interesting because you don't see this same breakdown in gold versus the dollar. Actually, you do. But either way, Dennis thinks this thing is the trade of the year. And I can understand why he thinks that, but we just need to see solid direction come out of this thing. And this will probably end up outperforming. But I don't know.
To buy gold in euro terms?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and if the euro goes and buy, and the irony of all, maybe he's the one who put the bottom in the euro. Who knows? But I'm hearing sort of risk on talk, right? If China and the Americans make peace, then the risk on assets start catching a bid. Like we said, Canadian dollar, Aussie dollar, those are classic risk on proxies. China starts catching a bid, risk on proxy. And technically the euro actually should do okay here. So, it's interesting versus gold. That's an interesting debate. I'm not.
That's what he's calling the trade of the year. I don't, I understand where he's coming from. It makes sense to me, but I'm not sure that I would take this myself. So what else?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, let's just leave it at that. The VIX is coming back down, retesting bottom of its range. I mean, no surprise here as the stock market continues to slowly climb its way higher. Maybe they're trying to put this proverbial genie back into its bottle, which is the short VIX trade. We'd have to lose that 12.4 low here in order to press on lower back into where we were in 2018, back in the 10s.
Ooh, I see something.
Yeah, there's a couple
interesting.
Of gaps.
The irony of it all is, as a contrarian, I'd be wanting to buy the VIX down here. Did you notice that there's a cheeky little gap on the NASDAQ right up at the highs here? So I do like the idea of your VIX coming right down into a bottoming area. Of course, everybody gives up on the trade, and the NASDAQ's just going to race up, fill in that gap. Actually, it'd be kind of interesting that you put. We should have like a VIX on the NASDAQ, because I think there is a VIX on the NASDAQ. VIX coming down against those lows. Ironically enough, that the smart traders are probably actually thinking about buying the VIX soon.
Here's your VIX on the NASDAQ, VXN. Yeah. There she is.
Right. So again, the same thing as the S&P 500. Nice test of those lows, probably those candle body levels, just like that euro trade. I could see traders taking a shot against those lows. But again, we've sort of talked about this before. You got to be a bit of a crackhead to be wanting to play the VIX. It's a tricky beast, no doubt.
Yeah, tell me about it. This thing's a pain in the ass, no doubt.
Okay.
I'm really, you were talking about semiconductors, and I just want to double back to Alcoa. I guess this isn't semiconductors, but still basic materials, aluminum. This is something we've been eyeing for a while here, and I really want this thing to break out. I'm still holding this thing from January. I've got until July on this contract. And this thing still is not performing. It's just annoying, right? With the SOF, sometimes you just kind of sit there until like the last month or two, and then the thing really picks itself up. So this thing's still sideways, but you made commentary about it was a great buying opportunity the other day. We filled in that gap. We came down. We've moved away from it. These bands are continuing to squeeze in tighter and tighter. Maybe that just needs to go on for a little bit more before we break out to the upside. I mean, I still like this name to the upside, and maybe, a China deal will be the driving factor here, because I think that there were some issues with, imports and exports of aluminum. I know for the beer industry, there was a shortage of enough aluminum to make cans maybe about a year ago.
Do you follow the aluminum price itself? Yeah, here's aluminum itself. So maybe we had a bit of a bump up. This is kind of a weird contract, though, so I don't even know if it's even relevant here. But one thing I did notice, we had our weekly options club meeting yesterday. And one thing that really jumped out at me through that, and it would sort of tie in with this aluminum trade, is the steel stocks are looking really interesting here. And hats off to Joshua. No, who was it? Jeremy, who found a couple steel stocks that I would say that, if aluminum doesn't float your boat, maybe take a look at some of the steel stocks, because he found this, and I always mispronounce this, but it's basically an amalgamation of two major European steel stocks. But can you see that same sort of pattern in the aluminum, Alcoa, and what's going on here? And also, for argument's sake, I took a look at US Steel. Yeah, same sort of thing. Really interesting levels here.
Yeah, this thing tagged 78.6 right on the nose.
Yeah, US Steel. Yeah, so I think that there's like a political football here. So Andrew says IB sent this out today. AA has been upgraded to outperform. When we were looking at all these steel stocks yesterday, a whole bunch of them got wickedly upgraded. I mean, you go on like FinViz and actually we did a screen of like about a half a dozen different steel stocks and just upgrades right across the board. So I could very easily see, and this would be a big win for Mr. Trump, that, one of the major problems with this whole trade issue with China was that they were basically just dumping raw steel on the U.S. market and raw aluminum and stuff. And of course, that didn't make Mr. Trump very happy. So maybe, they get close to this trade deal and these base, industrial metal names all start to take off here. I could easily see that. So, yeah, I think the steel stocks and the aluminum stocks are probably very closely tied.
Yeah, this actually looks really interesting. I'm not ready to buy this thing yet. I want to see a little more price action sort of down in this area. It almost looks like it needs to go sideways a bit just from eyeing the Bollinger Bands.
Yeah, I don't know whether I would buy that one either. But what we actually did, which was kind of fun for those people that do play the stock market, was we just went into FinViz, and we just I think I got to find the damn link. Where the hell do I put it? FinViz, where are you, FinViz? Here it is. You can actually just you can even screen by sector. And I suppose one day, actually in Sjord said he's got a whole bunch of fun toys that he can't wait till next week to show you guys. There's aluminum, right? We could actually even do like a screen of all the aluminum companies and see what their charts look like. But yesterday we did a screen of all the steel stocks, and it was really cool. There were some really interesting names. So I'm actually warming to the idea of taking a position in some steel names. Look at that one, right? I mean, they're trading really, really cheap, like some of the like single-digit PEs and stuff. So yeah, aluminum, steel, that kind of stuff. I actually like those names, and I suppose too we also need to keep an eye on the first 2 weeks. So let's sort of see where the first 2 weeks people are thinking about where the economy is, given where we are on the economic cycle. We just started this quarter, and I think that was excellent advice a week or two ago. You said, what, just give the market a couple days. I would even say a couple weeks, right, mm-hmm. to sort of tell us what they're anticipating for this coming quarter. But we should see, here's industrials, materials. That's sort of the area that And we did see to a certain degree last quarter a lot of money flowing back into technology and stuff. But let's keep an eye on, especially like things like industrials and materials like aluminum and steel and stuff would probably be in there. So maybe they're thinking that and the semiconductors are taking off, so that would be like technology sector. So maybe they're thinking that we're sort of in this part of the economic cycle. And if that's the case, that means we're sort of, somewhere in here, right? And that would make sense, because last quarter we were sort of working our way through this nonsense, and now we're slowly climbing the wall of worry again. So, let's keep an eye. And of course, if Mr. Trump comes out with a big deal with China, and all of a sudden I could easily see like Alcoa and US Steel and, even the European proxy all just take off here on that kind of news. So, all right. Totally derailed you, wasting a lot of people's time. So I'm sorry, everybody. Continue, sir, please.
I think I'm running out of things to just, good trade ideas, at least here on equity markets. A lot of things are just running away from me. Again, I was waiting for a decent pullback as a buying opportunity. And it seems like the pullback, I got two chances. One was, beginning of March. And then the second one was, last week. And that wasn't even a real pullback. So if this thing's ready to go for a ride, I'm going to be left behind.
When sell in May and walk away. The seasonal rally window is slowly closing here. Probably we get, very normally we get a nice little pullback into sort of June, July, end of June, beginning of July. That's probably where your big pullback is going to come.
Yeah.
Seasonally things are still kind of uppy here.
Yeah, and it's interesting, we were talking about those CTAs and buy programs, and they were getting really close to the lows. Well, turns out there was that 1536 number. We had to continually close below that to get everyone short, and then it looks like we're going back above that level, and I think I have these levels on the SPY.
Oh, that's a bull div there too. Jeez.
Are you looking on the Russell?
Yeah. And I also noticed too, because when I was looking at my indexes, I noticed that he's trying to put in a W here versus the big stocks. See this? So, and your transports actually look a lot happier too. So,
yeah.
I could and again, this is sort of our conversation about the broader market going into sort of orgy mode here. If this thing W's out here and breaks this downtrend here, there's your transports and there's the Dow. So transports are confirming. We could very easily head into like a melt up mode here.
Sure feels like we're already there. I mean, I would love to see this come back down, retest this sort of, it's not even a neckline, but at least that CTA level, and then put in a W. I may just buy that and play with it until May, but that's annoying. I don't like playing things when they're up this high. But you're right. I mean, we had this bear div come in, play itself out. Now you put in a quick, polite bull div, and there you go. That thing's canceled out if we can break above these highs here.
So did all those CTAs go short?
Let me get those levels up. I think they did go short on the Russell. I believe that was the 1536 level. Let me find that article. That was the Charlie McElligott CTA. Here comes the CTA. There we go. So everything's flipped short today, according to this. That was like 2 weeks ago. What were the exact levels? So Russell CTA is currently 50% long. Will sell and flip short under 1536 to get 100% short. Alternatively, expect buying over 1578 to get max long. Well, we flipped below 1536 so March 25th was when that was published. So here was March 25th. This candle here. So we were almost 2 days below that. I don't know how these CTAs work. Did they all flip short on these 2 days and now they're in danger of going long? Talk about taking the CTAs for a ride. I mean, those algorithmic buying program, I mean, that doesn't help anybody, right? So it was interesting. You're like, mark those levels off. Let's see how right he is. Well, that spent 2 days under 1536, and we didn't get the follow through we were looking for. And interestingly, all those Macro Voices guys and the podcast, they haven't said a word about him, not one mention about his selling levels, other than they're getting closer and closer to whatever market levels are. So I guess this is not something that you can use as a hard line, because clearly 2 days below that level, again, March 25th, and then, 2 consistent candle body closes, 4 consistent candle body closes below 1536. This was 15.
You know what the market's going to do here? The market's going to run up. It's going to tag new highs. Everybody's going to be like, rah, rah, bull. And then it's going to roll over and head back down.
Yeah, I mean, you got to suck everyone in. They're calling it the prairie dog formation now, right? It popped its head up, and then
that isn't your. I thought that was your idea.
No, I did not coin that term at all.
Oh, that's too bad. I was gonna make you famous with that. So that's somebody else's line.
Well, it's been floated around for years. It's a long time saying. I think there was a professor that was talking about it on CNBC, and then the Macro Voices guys were making fun of him because he sounded like a nutcase the way he was talking about it. So evidently it's a term that's been tossed around for a while in the marketplace here, not something that I've originally coined. I will not take credit for that.
Yeah, when I was a prop trader, 2 guys on the site I used to trade with, they used to call them up thrust setups, where basically they would literally short a market 2 ticks above the old highs. So, and then, basically, and these are the kind of trades, kind of like what we were talking about VIX, kind of like the euro there a few minutes ago. These are like professional traders. All they do is they just buy against lows, sell against highs. For level oneers, I think it's far better in your best interest just to slowly wait for the setups to develop so you have a high probability of success. Keep in mind these guys, pro traders like that, the prairie dog kind of setup. I don't even know what the statistical relevance is. I mean, this one would probably be a good example where you probably shorted 2 days ago. We're kind of hoping for an inside bar there on your chart that I'm seeing on your screen yesterday. And if that inside bar had fired today, I would have felt much more comfortable about going short versus just shorting the tag of new highs there 3 days ago. If we go up through those highs, man, that Dow could take off like a rocket here.
Yeah, and interestingly, we don't have the same bullish setup on the MACD as we do on the Russell. So this is not a bull divergence, right? Price did not go to new lows as it did on the Russell. And I don't think we have the same thing on the SPY either, or the SPX. Same thing here. This did not go to new lows. So I'm not so sure I'm ready to take my cues from the Russell. It looked like it was leading the pack for a little bit. Now the rest of the market was like, all right, screw you, small cap. We're on the run. And that's kind of
well, in a weird sort of way, it's kind of like crypto, right? Where the crypto altcoins were all enjoying a really nice rally, and now the big boys said, "Okay, enough's enough," and the big boys have just taken over this crypto market.
Yeah, I mean, look how long we've sort of been flirting with overbought. I mean, this is embedded here.
We're back to overbought again, eh?
Yeah, so we're getting back into that level. And of course, May's coming up. So I think I might just have to put myself on hold until May and reevaluate the market there, because it doesn't look like my shorting opportunities are going to come in like I wanted them to. So I just got to sit on my hands and wait for everyone to walk away in May and go from there. But I mean, as far as market commentary, I think we've yip-yapped about equities and, all this stuff.
This has been kind of a funny session here today. All right. So you said you had some funny stories in crypto you wanted to tell us?
Yeah, so Zero Hedge, they picked up on this Bitcoin surge, and they believe that they have an article here that claims the derivative traders believe they know the answer for crypto's recent run-up, and they're taking data. I don't know if anyone's ever used this skew.com site. Oh shit, this isn't loaded. This thing's really cool. You bring this thing up, it's a derivatives website. I just looked at it today. I think, is this what I don't think this is what Grim is using, but you can click Bitcoin futures for some data, and it'll show you a ton of different stuff, including data from OKX, data from BitMEX, from Bitflyer, all the major exchanges, and it gives you a cool breakdown of each of the individual metrics that they use to evaluate the market, such as like buy market percentage. They evaluate the futures markets. They've got BitMEX versus Coinbase basis. They show you the BitMEX liquidations here. So this is what these derivative traders are supposedly using to look at these different markets. I think it's really cool. I need to digest this a little bit more. There's a lot going on here. But going back to the article, the reason why they think that this is happening is it's simply a short squeeze. And they come together bringing information from that skew.com site showing all the BitMEX liquidations that happened. So almost $300 million in total liquidations happened 6 a.m. yesterday morning, or Tuesday morning. So that was 6 a.m.
Tuesday. About that. There was a huge short liquidations.
Yeah, I just didn't know how much it was, and I didn't know, how quickly this thing had happened and how it happened. Yesterday we ran that article that there was a coordinated buy across 3 different exchanges. That may have something to do with this. Someone or some group came together and said, hey, enough's enough. Let's squeeze all these shorts and liquidate the shit out of them. Maybe this is an Arthur Hayes thing. Who the hell knows? But there was a ton of money that got injected into these markets in just an hour, right? So this thing is saying between 5:30 and 6:30 London time. So that was 1:30 in the morning, or 12:30 to 1:30 in the morning Eastern time, that almost $500 million of buy orders came in on BitMEX, and then you've got 300 million in liquidations that occurred. So people were scrambling to buy. Here's how you can see total daily liquidations buy versus the liquidations sell. So people were in a rush to move their positions out. Once the squeeze started coming in, you saw things like Coinbase have their liquidity evaporate overnight, or over the course of an hour. So evidently, all of the orders just dried up from the order book, and price just shot higher because there wasn't anyone sitting there keeping the price depressed. So it does seem like this was a coordinated effort across all the exchanges. It almost seems like an attack here against whoever, the shorts versus the longs. Usually it'll happen on one market, but now you're seeing it happen across the entire plane of existence of crypto exchanges. It's really cool to see. And then they're coming out.
I gotta say, this is, we were mentioning Grim and Deribit. I mean, we all understand 50% rules. We should have seen, the potential for this to come. If anything, this is a great commentary on. You remember a couple months ago, there was some pro CME guys that were saying, you know what, we've squeezed the short side of this. We're getting out. The writing was on the walls that something like this would happen. What is exactly the reason for it happening? I don't know. I mean, and the irony of it all is that, of course, this guy here, he's got to paint some sort of doom and gloom scenario here. He loves doing that, doesn't he? So, everybody at TRI should have, we've been squawking about bullish bots for a while now, so it really shouldn't surprise us. It's always interesting to hear what they and in a weird sort of way, this Zero Hedge guy is almost turned into like a talking head, in that there's always a reason. There's always some sort of, like conspiracy or something with him, right? It just feels like it was just normal course of action. Too many people got caught on the short side of the market. They got fucked.
I agree. I mean, people want to see a reason behind it. I mean, look, I don't know. I don't even know the saying, but whatever it is, sure, this thing's gone up for whatever you want it to believe. I have an interesting graphic here that I think is fascinating, that you can see a normalized percent change in price here. And look at the top 2 lines. The blue one is Bitcoin here at the top. And then the second one is Litecoin right here. So Litecoin is also running up on a percent for percent basis more than the other three: Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, and Ripple. I mean, screw Ripple. But hey, that's pretty interesting. Why the hell is Litecoin being bought up so much? Is it because it's come down so much compared to everything else? I don't know. I'm sure someone's going to try to find a reason. You know, Brian was talking about, you know, the Chinese Ponzi schemes that happened years ago. Whatever it is, we won't know about it until after it's over. And this guy continues to say that, hey, it looks like this is continuing to run up and that the squeeze is not over yet. And hey, you can bring up a chart and you can say, hey, I can give you a technical reason for why this isn't done yet. I don't need to see all of your fancy schmancy graphics showing, you know, probabilities of Bitcoin and, you know, buy market percentages. I can just draw my simple fibs on, say, something like Ethereum on a daily chart and say, hey, you know what? $200 seems like a decent profit region or a decent profit target because of all of these reasons. You got 200% extensions, you've got reload zones, you know, $200 is big fat round number, 78 sixes, you know, you name it, whatever you want to come up with, you got your reasoning. But this guy continues on and he even says that, you know what, I think that the probability, or according to the skew data, excuse me, not the Zero Hedge guy, the probability of Bitcoin rising above 10,000 by September has now gone up to 11%, which it was 4.2% last week. So, woohoo! Right, yeah, exactly. Whatever the hell that means. So I don't know. I thought it was interesting to cover. I really want to look through these things a little bit more. You know, we used to have our...
Look at Ethereum just go here. Just they must be listening to you.
Yeah. I mean, Ethereum, I think that thing was so cheap at $80. I couldn't have bought more of it at that time. You know, it went down to 75, but you know, when these things come down, you gotta have a trading, whatever. I'm about to go on a rant.
What I do like, I mean, just leave your chart the way it is. Don't move it. Notice we talked about this claw, right? And the irony of it all is that now we're hearing all the talking heads. They're all going to get ridiculously bullish. And yet we can see that we're actually coming into a significant resistance zone where we're going to actually start seeing some traffic as soon as everybody on these silly, you know, talk shows and, you know, Zero Hedges and all that kind of, I don't know about them, but you know, it wouldn't surprise me if, you know, and I kind of noticed crypto Twitter, everybody's turning like rah bullish here, but we're actually coming into the end of the move, not the beginning of the move. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that claw image right there, man, print that shit off, man. That's so valuable.
A claw. All right, so let's move on away from our skew and Zero Hedge commentary. Coinbase hot wallets now backed by $255 million insurance policy. That's really the gist of this article. I don't know if it's worth covering anything else because they like to shit on
Quadriga there, eh?
Right, they're shitting all over Quadriga. So, you know, $255 million worth of funds. If you have a lot of funds on Coinbase, first of all, I ask you why. Second of all, you should always control your keys, control your coins, leaving them on an exchange. I mean, don't get burnt. This has happened to so many people. If you are trading a large amount and you're keeping your money on Coinbase and you want to stick to their $255 million worth of insurance and you want to be smart about it, I would say check out their hot wallet addresses. See how much money is sitting in those hot wallets. If it's more than $255 million, you're going to take a haircut. Don't put yourself in that position in the first place. And if you really have to, be smart about it, please. I don't think anyone's going to really be doing that, but I thought it was worth mentioning. And it's cool also that Coinbase went out and said, hey, we're going to get a $255 million insurance policy. And they're backed by Lloyd's of London. I actually know one of the guys that runs one of their other insurance desks, and they're a very big firm. So this is a serious insurance policy, and they have it. So good for Coinbase. There we go. Next article is out of the SEC. They've released their crypto token guidance. and I went to the SEC website and I found the actual document here. I didn't actually read this thing. It's only 13 pages, but they have simple things like, just don't be stupid. Don't run your ICO promising to make people profits based on your token. Lots of guidelines, but nothing really too concrete as to keeping companies out of trouble. It was just like simple things that you want to make sure that the token's values are limited. If it's billed as a currency, the token should not, or actually operates as a store of value, yada, yada, yada. Lots of stuff here. You can read through it if you're planning on running an ICO, probably in your best interest. But then I found another article that the SEC was issued its first no action letter clearing an ICO to sell tokens here in the US. And that was a company by the name of Turnkey Jet. And this one, I don't know, this didn't even seem like a real thing. Their tokens are supposed to be immediately useful. They're supposed to remain fixed at $1. So this is like a stable coin, it seems like. Tokens can only be used for air charter services, and repurchases can only be made at a discount to the token, and then they will not represent the tokens as having profit potential. So this doesn't sound like a typical altcoin to me. It just kind of sounds like, hey, we're messing around. We wanted to start our airline, private jet company, and we thought it'd be cool if we put this thing on the blockchain and made an ICO out of it, is pretty much what I gathered. But hey, it establishes some sort of precedence that, hey, the first ICO in the US finally got the go-ahead, or at least a no-action letter by the SEC. So take that for whatever it's worth. And that's pretty much the roundup of the news that I was seeing. Nothing else other than the typical ranting about Bitcoin and all the other cryptocurrencies on a new bull run, going to new highs, and everyone should have been buying when it was low. And you have those same news agencies who are coming out and saying Bitcoin's going to zero when it was at its lows. So typical news media, always fucking over the public. So where do we want to start off with technically? I mean, I think it's the same story here as far as where we are in terms of profit objectives, in terms of where this thing might stall out. I think that as opposed to yesterday, you're definitely a little late to the party. The daily still has a little bit more room to run to the upside, but I mean, we're coming quickly into that $200 range. I think that everyone has to remember the hallmark of an end of a move is a blow off top. And we don't have that yet. You'll know when this move is done when you think it's done at $200 and the thing just powers through it and you get this massive buy up. Maybe the thing goes to 250 on some kind of wick. Who knows? You really don't know. It gets really fireworky at the tops of markets when we're done with these moves. If this thing just kind of slowly bleeds upward and doesn't have that blow off top without a market structure, divergence, you name it, for a short, this thing's just going to keep going. Don't fall short until you have your reasons. You're going to get blown. You're going to get run over here on these markets.
Totally. Right. Location, divergence, structure, go.
Yeah.
We don't even have location yet.
Tattoo that shit on your eyelid.
There's no signs of divergence anywhere in sight. Yeah. Just, you want to go get a tattoo? All right, that's fine by me. Maybe it should be like tattoo T for trade location, D, T, D, and then M. TDM?
Yeah.
Maybe something like that.
Put it on the inside of your eyelid so when you go to sleep, that's burned in there forever.
But literally, I mean, I call me crazy, but I look at Thomas's screen. We just talked about claws. Look at that motherfucking claw. And look at the, I mean, really, you could argue that $6,000 level is a MUOC, right? And that, gee whiz, that's 78.6, right? So don't be a hero, people, here, and call tops, because this thing might just make you look foolish. Kind of like it just made, that Thomas Lee guy foolish, who is calling bottoms through that whole meltdown.
You know, he can't catch a break at all. Didn't he release his own report that showed Bitcoin bottom at like 2,200 or something?
Yeah, I mean, the poor guy. And you know, the sad part about it is that I think he did really, really good fundamental analysis. It's just that he needs to work on his timing.
He might be right eventually. Maybe we do top out at 6,000 and go straight back down to 2,200. You just don't know.
Well,
But
and that's the irony of it all, but that's a conversation for another day. I don't know whether you guys noticed, Bitcoin broke at like 6,000 and went down to 3. So I wouldn't be surprised if we rally back up, kiss the underside of 6,000, then maybe back up to like 5,500 or so, something like that, break that level, and then half of that would take us down to like 27, 2,800, which would just wash out those lows, right? And that's exactly what happened in the Chop Vegas market from 2015. Everybody's like, oh shit, we're back in the crap, boo, hiss, hiss, boo. And that was the ultimate sort of bottom. So ironically enough, where we actually finish this rally may actually tell us where the ultimate low will ultimately be. And I have to say, you know, like I look at Litecoin's chart right there, that's not really a textbook W. That to me actually looks more V-ish, which means that to a guy like me, at some point, we're going to have to roll over and come back down and test these lows in earnest. And, you know, like I know everybody would like to think the bottom is in, you know, it's just straight up here in crypto from here on out. I'm not buying it yet. I mean, this is perfectly natural technical bounces, you know, bullish bots, they're all playing themselves out. You know, TRISOFs on Bitcoin. Way to go, Graham, if you're watching this later on. He totally bought the story there. And I think he's getting rewarded now. You know, all those trades are all working out, but I don't believe that we're actually at like an actual like weekly W yet here. Like actually, what happens if you change that to a weekly chart? Just out of curiosity. Is that a W? Yeah, maybe, but you know, I could easily see us go back down and test those lows at some point. That looks very V-ish. Anyway, my hunch is that enjoy the rally, and as I had said earlier, in fact, I even said it, you know, through last fall. If you want, you know, it's a little late now to come to the party, but hopefully people bought a bit of Litecoin down there at like 30 some odd dollars, and let Litecoin's rally here fund your trip to Vancouver this summer. I did see a bunch of people in the lounge were actually posting that, got my free position, and this is going to pay for my trip to Vancouver. So congratulations. Perfect. Excellent. But let's not get too, if anything, this is almost, we're starting to get into the kind of talk too far, too fast. This is not, you know, like if we squared up Thomas's charts and just drew like a 45-degree angle off of those lows, I think the start of this move was very 45-degree angle-ish. But now we're starting to actually get into some pretty parabolic price action here. Isn't that interesting how that's right up against a 38.2 right there? Oh, interesting. So there's, you know, like if anything, what we've got here now is a classic story of Ray's barbecue. So for heaven's sakes, please, nobody go and buy Litecoin here. That's just asking for trouble. It really is. So anyway.
Ray's barbecue. Does anyone know what this is called? This 50 MA and 200 MA that have crossed back here?
Oh, yeah. That's a golden cross, eh?
It's golden. Yeah, there you go. That's the only market that's had this. I put it up on Ethereum. Not yet. You can see the white is the 200 period moving average, and the orange.
Where's the 38.2 on that chart, I wonder? Because I don't think Ethereum's really gotten going yet.
No, it has. Well, it depends where you draw your fibs from, right? If you want to go from the highs, we've still got a lot of work to do to get back up there. Yeah. And yeah, so there's still a lot of upside potential in a lot of these markets. But again, we're getting a little bit too far, too fast, but we haven't blown off the top just yet. So if it's nice to be sitting in a nice bullish posture here for once. It's been a long time coming, right? We've been looking at this thing since, geez, I don't know, last year, coming down, little pops here and there.
Yeah.
Hopefully this just isn't a little pop. But yeah, drawing the 38.2 off of Ethereum is a little bit more difficult than, say, what we've got on the other markets. This thing did go sideways here, and this is where I was drawing my fibs off those other markets. So right now we're at 186. We're at what, 177. So we're just shy of tagging Mountain Man at 186. If you use this as the high, I mean, should I be using this as the high or this is the high? I'm gonna hold to this area here because we went sideways for a bit, and use that as my range. So yeah, 78.6 is 216. So I still like $200. I'm using a couple of different fib extensions here. I've got this this range here up to 232, and then this small range here is 215. So I think that's probably a reasonable expectation that we're going to go up, probably tag around 200 or higher before maybe stuttering out and needing to recharge the batteries a bit. And it sure looks like this isn't pulling back anytime soon.
Well, also to think of this, like all through September, October, November there, anybody who bought and then the market fell apart, they're sitting there, you know, they're sleeping on the couch, or maybe they're even in the doghouse out in the backyard. The wife still hasn't let them back in. And she's like, you know, that was our vacation money that you spent on that. You better fucking get that money back or I'm never talking to you again. Jesus. So those guys, and, you know, this is sort of the whole analogy of the claw, right? The upper part of your claw there up in that sort of $200 area, those are all those guys that bought those lows. And I can tell you, they're just sitting there going, for God's sakes, just get back to $200. Please, 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 please. I'll get out. I'll never buy this goddamn thing again. So just be careful here, guys. Please don't chase this market. Just wait for setups. And somebody asked, well, how about like a 1 hour time frame? Can I play, you know, like setups there? My advice to you at this point is we have to wait for some sort of consolidation. And I even put a tweet out yesterday saying, you know, you're way, way, way too late to be a buyer. You're just way too late. But that doesn't mean the market can't keep going up. I suppose you could have maybe drawn, like, for those people that are just like absolute, you know, junkies and need a trade. You could have drawn things like bot setups off of this range. This is a 1 hour. You notice we came back to 33 there. But I got to tell you, you know, for new people to trading, this is very high octane stuff. And I certainly wouldn't recommend it for anybody who's sort of like level one, just starting working on the site. You know, I suppose you could make an argument 1 hour setup off of the stamp here. You can see 1 lows, 2 lows, 3 lows. You can see the W that came in here. Really, we could argue there's a little bit of a cup and handle there. And that trade actually has just had its move stop to scratch level hit. So if Bitcoin does crap out and come back down to this 4,900 area here, I would be getting the hell out of there damn quick. But really, my general feeling is that, you know, we're near the end of these moves. We should be, you know, locking in profits from if you haven't already actually had your targets hit. You should be locking in profits on any of the trades that are still sort of working away. And, you know, if you want to sell like 80% of your position and just hold on to a little bit of it and put the rest of that, maybe 10, 20% of that position, just move your stop to scratch. And what the fuck, Brian, if Litecoin does go to $300-400 a coin, then at least I still have a little bit on the books. That's fine. But I got to tell you, I'm a little worried. The markets love to do this, where they're going to try and suck you into trying to be a buyer. But remember, guys, red boxes are actually selling zones, not buying zones. So if we ask, you know, where is that selling zone? You know, here we are up in the parking garage. That's where we are right now. And oh boy, there is one big ass red zone coming up here. And look who's looming here. And he's just gone, come to me, baby, I'm gonna get you. So be careful here, okay, guys? Please be careful. All right, that's my funny little joke for the day. I hope you all enjoyed that. Looks like a couple people in the lounge enjoyed that. All right, we're well past the top of the hour. I think you did a great job as always, sir. Thank you so much. I interrupted you terribly there again, as always. Was there anything in closing that you wanted to impart on these people? And this is a really cool site. If anything, can you post that site link in the lounge just so I can look at it once we're done here? I'd love if you could do that, please. And I'll even add it to the library because that's kind of cool. Lots of fun data to chew on. Alex, you just sent me a chart link. What do you, Alex, did you want to talk a little bit about something here? Mr. Renberg, what's on your mind, sir?
Oops, I was muted. Yeah, there was a chart that we talked about, if you remember. I think a couple days.
Hey, what Alex just sent me. What's on your mind here, sir?
So that was actually I think the price action now was pretty similar to what we had back in July to November, the bear market, until we broke down to $3,000. It just seems that it's inversely correlated here, or not inversely correlated, but it's inverse price action.
Okay, so this was a top, like originally.
Well, you'd have to go to the Bitcoin chart there.
Okay, Bitcoin tastes great. Well, and what am I looking at here?
Just go to the weekly, maybe.
All right. Bada boom, bada boom, bada boom. All right.
And I was looking at the price action from July to November.
Through here to there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're taking that and flipping it around and putting it.
Okay.
I don't know if it makes sense to show the community now. It's just we were just playing around with that.
Well, I mean, it almost looks like this is almost identical.
Yeah.
Very, very similar.
And then we had the breakdown, and now we just have the up thrust there.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Can we share this with the community? Do you mind if I just post this in the lounge?
Sure.
If you guys can get value out of this, awesome. Awesome possum. Shall we, what do you think, Mr. Hapsburg? Did we give these people good value today, or did I drop it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So just an FYI to everybody, we're totally treated, total special treat when Alex is here. He does the screen sharing. He's going to be away. Is it next week?
Yeah, from Tuesday to Friday.
All right. So please understand that I'll be doing the screen shares, which means that the video quality is going to go down quite a bit. Just bear with me. And actually, maybe you'll get used to Brian doing such a crappy job. And when Alex comes back, you'll get a big a roar of applause from the audience. So just a heads up to everybody. Oh, and also, too, there was something else I wanted to mention. So I get like a bazillion, gazillion DMs every day. And somebody DM'd me or PM'd me or whatever the hell you want to call it the other day asking about the COT report and how hedgers operate and their profit margins. And I was about to answer it, but then I got distracted and I moved to a different DM because, like I said, I get gazillions of them all day long. And then, unfortunately, on the Rocket Chat, there isn't like sort of a history of who DM'd you and who you, which ones you looked at, and I lost it. So if you had sent me a DM specifically asking about the COT report and how hedgers operate, can you just give me I haven't heard back from you again, and you're probably waiting for my reply, but I lost the message. So could you please just DM me again? Hey, Brian, it was me, whatever. And then I can formally answer your question. So I'm sorry about that, everybody. And that person in particular. So, Okay, why don't we leave it at that for today? Looks like, oh, our spread's actually going to go back into contango here. Wow,
They're close. Negative $28. Last time we were positive was back in August.
Oh, and you like to look at it versus like Stamp, eh? Isn't that interesting how I like tell you there's so much stuff to
No, I've been using Coinbase now.
You use Coinbase now. Now, I used to watch it off of the OKCoin cash index itself, but you don't really like that, eh?
I don't think it's real.
Oh, okay. Well, there's always those issues. Now I can't find the damn chart. But I haven't looked at that in a while.
I can put it up for you. You want BTC USD on OKCoin?
Isn't that weird? I wonder maybe if I close the window. I don't seem to have it here.
Do they have it on here? Oh, here it is. All right, let's see what she looks like. Doink, doink. Wow, this looks cray-cray. So this went positive a couple times.
Yeah, that does look messy. Where the heck is my futures chart? It must be one of these. But anyway, okay, why don't we leave it at that? I'm just rambling here. I'm sorry, everyone. Maybe you could take us out of here, Mr. Habsburg. You know, if I don't talk to you, but I think we're going to hear from you on the rest of this week and then Monday, correct?
Yeah, I think I'll be absent on Friday because my grandfather has his birthday, and we're going to go to a restaurant, but I should be there tomorrow.
Okay, so we'll see you tomorrow, but if we don't, have yourselves a great day, everybody. I'm just blabbing now. I'm done. Thomas, if you have anything else you want to add, please feel free, but I'm just going to shut the hell up. Have a great day, everybody. All the best. Mr. Habsburg, if you can take us out of here. The only thing left to say is bye for now.